Hey guys, this is Mainely Watches and I'm Nick. Thanks for joining me today. Today we are talking about the VOSTOK Amphibian. Yes, I promised you this on my last episode. We would talk VOSTOK today. A very idiosyncratic watch. Love it or hate it, it's got charm. So let's turn the camera and take a closer look. This is the VOSTOK Amphibian. It is the reference 710640. This is a Russian-made military dive watch. It features what VOSTOK calls their ministry case, and that is, I believe, denoted by the first three numbers of the reference, so the 710 being the ministry case. These watches are made in Russia. VOSTOK is an interesting company. Their story starts back in the early 40s when they were a defense equipment manufacturer during the war. And after the war, VOSTOK started making mechanical wristwatches, and that has been their main focus ever since. In 1965, VOSTOK became the official supplier to the Defense Department of the Soviet Union, and they were given a brief to develop a watch for the USSR's service that met certain criteria. And of course one of these was that it had to be an extreme dive-capable watch, but most importantly, it had to be developed totally within the USSR, meaning they could not use any foreign patents or components in its assembly and production. So the design is completely an in-house design from the 60s. It is indeed a very unique watch. It's become somewhat infamous. The first amphibias were manufactured in 1967, and they very quickly became popular amongst submariners and seafarers because of their simplicity and reliability. And it is a very basic watch. 1975, an amphibia watch went to space on the Soyuz 17. They have been run over by trucks, hammered, and I mean there are numerous YouTube videos showing destructive tests being done on these watches. Now, even though this watch is officially rated for 200 meters, people have tested these to go far beyond that, proving how reliable and rugged these things are. There is nothing fancy about this watch. They're very, very simple, robust watches, and they certainly have a lot of weird quirks, and for me personally, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this guy. We're going to get into all the quirks here. The VOSTOK Amphibia has even been in Hollywood movies, and it's really developed a cult following. The movie starred in the 1994 adventure comedy The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, which was written by Wes Anderson. The film starred Bill Murray as Steve Zissou, who played an eccentric oceanographer with his misfit crew on their adventures. And Zissou is both a parody and a homage to the French diving pioneer Jacques Cousteau, to whom the film is dedicated. I'm a big fan of Doxas, and in fact I have on my wrist today my Doxa Sub 750, which you can see has a remarkably similar tonneau case shape to the VOSTOK. The Life Aquatic was a fun movie, and of course Bill Murray and his misfit crew were all wearing VOSTOK watches, because of course they didn't have the funds that Jacques Cousteau had. And of course Cousteau was very active promoting the Doxa brand in the 60s and 70s, so it was kind of fitting that Steve Zissou and his gang were all running around with VOSTOKs, being a budget Cousteau. The film also had Owen Wilson, Cate Blanchett, Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Angelica Houston. So if you haven't watched it, you should. It's quite a fun movie. I I've enjoyed it and seen it a number of times. But yeah, let's let's get back to the watch in question here, the VOSTOK Amphibian. I've had this watch now for a couple of years. Interesting story. I bought this guy off of eBay, and it was shipped to me from the Ukraine. I think I paid around $90 for it. Very hard to pin down retail prices on these things because they do tend to fluctuate. They have an enormous catalog of watch faces, and some of them really border on being garish. This is a more simple, basic watch face. This is not the original bezel. This is an aftermarket bezel. My first day wearing the watch, when I received it, the bezel actually fell off, and it was lost for quite a while. So I ordered a new bezel. The original bezel was kind of a garish affair. It was all high polished. It looked like it was chrome-plated brass. But yeah, I lost it, so I ordered a new bezel. This was also from a Ukrainian supplier in the Ukraine. That's one of the things that makes these watches so popular, is that they're very inexpensive and they're really easy to mod. And you can certainly take these things apart and do all kinds of fun things with these watches. So yeah, I've put a new bezel on here, and kind of happy with how this looks. This is not the original strap. This is on Erica's original strap. The VOSTOK bracelets have developed an infamous reputation. They are nasty, nasty affairs. I've since long parted ways with my original bracelet. They're not for the faint at heart, the VOSTOK bracelets. They're all pressed and folded stainless steel, very sharp, notorious arm hair pullers. So you've really got to be a tough, manly man if you want to survive wearing a VOSTOK on the original bracelet. Like I said, they're not for the faint at heart. I ditched it. I've since put a very nice Erica's MN strap on, which I think it's worth more than the watch. But it's perfect strap for this watch, I think. Let's get into the specifications of this guy. So like I said, this watch is running around $100, so just keep that in mind. Diameter of this watch measures in at 41 millimeters. So 41 for the diameter. Lug length is 45, lug to lug, and you can see it is a tonneau-shaped case. So very simple case design, and as I say, very reminiscent of the Doxa Subs case design. And I think this might be why I'm so attracted to it, because I like how these tonneau cases wear. They're just very comfortable cases. We have a 22 millimeter lug width and a nice beefy 7 millimeter crown. Now, thank God it has that crown, because that's a whole different story, and we're going to talk about that crown. Thickness on this watch comes in at a chunky 15 millimeters. It's not a thin watch, but you can see that tonneau case shape, just a lovely case shape. Weight on this watch, on this Erica's MN strap, it's coming in at 80 grams, so actually fairly lightweight. You may remember I had a duo of titanium divers on the channel the last 2 episodes, and they were 65 grams in titanium. So this thing is 80 grams, and it's stainless steel. 200 meters claimed water resistance, although they have been proven to be much, much more water resistant than that. There's some interesting YouTube videos out there showing some crush tests done on these watches where they're going over 800,000 meters before the movement stops, and that's just from the pressure alone. We need to talk design of this watch, because this is what's really quite unique about it, before I even get into the case materials. This watch is what's known as a compressor design. And by a compressor design, it means that as the watch is exposed to pressure, both on the case crystal and the case back, they're designed to compress down to seal the watch and improve water tightness. The case back on these is very unique in that it's a 2-piece case back. It's not a full screw down like you're used to on a normal dive watch. This is kind of like a mason jar, if you liken it to that, with a flat cover that only fits one way, and then a ring that threads it down and locks it down onto a big, thick gasket. It has a big rubber gasket in there, no fancy O-rings. So you lock that case down. As the water pressure increases, it helps seal it. Likewise, on the crystal, which is just acrylic plastic, very similar concept. As that pressure increases on the bezel and the water pressure, it seats the whole thing down and helps with its water resistance. So yeah, these watches have gone to pretty well a kilometer before they suffer any damage. The crystal is acrylic. I believe it's around 3 millimeters thick, so it's a thick piece of acrylic, and acrylic will not break in the way sapphire crystal will. It deforms, and that's part of its secret to the water resistance. So let's look a bit here at the case. The case on this watch is all stainless steel, 316. It is not the best finishing. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but in between the lugs here, it's a little bit rough. Although there are no sharp edges, the bottom of the lugs are pretty smooth. The finishing is fine. I mean, for what it is, it's okay. As I say, this is a new bezel, so it's an aftermarket bezel, which is stainless with a ceramic insert. The original bezel on this, I believe, was probably chrome-plated brass, just a garish affair. The bezel is interesting in that it is not a traditional click-style bezel. This is a bidirectional bezel, turns both ways. This one, I've made it very stiff, and I've done that intentionally. It's not a ratcheting bezel, and what VOSTOK has done, you can pop the bezel off, and there is a octagonal sort of spring that locks it in place. And you know, you'll hear some reviews where people complain about the bezels being so loose on these. Well, it's a simple matter to just pop the bezel off and adjust that spring. It's a very simple spring, and you can adjust it and make it as loose or tight as you want. So yeah, you can see this bezel is tight. I mean, it takes quite a bit of force to turn it. So that's the story on the case. That compressor design, acrylic crystal, and you can see it's a pretty decent crystal. I mean, it hasn't gotten any scratches on it. Like I said, there are YouTube videos, people putting these and driving trucks over them, and they're just fine. I mean, the acrylic will deform, and it just kind of pops back to its shape. If you do subject these watches to a lot of pressure, sometimes the movement will stop, and that's the movement's another one of its idiosyncrasies. But as far as the case goes, I really like this for wearing comfort. It's a very comfortable watch. As I say, it really reminds me a lot of wearing my Doxa Sub 750 on the wrist. It's a comfortable case design. And it certainly has proven durable once I got all the teething problems worked out with the bezel. The movement on this needs some discussion because this is an in-house movement. The movements are all made by VOSTOK. In fact, everything on this watch is made in-house at the VOSTOK factory. And that's from the cases, the crystal, the movement, the hands, the screws. I mean, everything is made in-house. Nothing is outsourced, nothing is imported. It is truly an in-house watch. There are some interesting factory tours you can find on YouTube where they go into the VOSTOK factory. Unfortunately, they're all in Russian, but you can get the English subtitles. But absolutely fascinating to see how they're assembling and manufacturing these watches. Some of that equipment looks like it's right out of the 1950s, and they are truly hand-assembled. Nothing like, if you see a factory tour of Tudor or Rolex, where everything is automated and they've got robots running around and all kinds of high-tech equipment. I mean, this is really old-school manufacturing. But nevertheless, it's proven itself, this basic design and manufacturing of this watch is, it's dating back 60 years and nothing has changed. The movement on this is a VOSTOK 2416. That's the movement reference. It is a 31 joule. It also runs at 2.75 hertz. It's not a 3 hertz. So this is running at 19,800 beats per hour. Official accuracy on these movements is -20 to 60 seconds a day. That's the official rating. And they are also supposed to have a power reserve of 31 hours. So that's quite low by contemporary standards. Now, what is so interesting with this movement is that when I put it on my time grapher, it's all over the place, and sometimes it looks absolutely horrific how it's running, and you can move it around on the time grapher into different positions and it really looks pretty bad. But then when I put it on the wrist and I'm wearing the watch, and I have also use one of those apps where you can synchronize your watch every day to see your real time, and over a week, 2 weeks, this thing is running +4 seconds a day, which, I mean, that's COSC standard. And this is from a very old school, simple movement. So it's a bit of a mystery how this watch seems to run so well when it's on the wrist and getting knocked around, but then when you try to analyze it on a time grapher, it looks like crap. But, this is life with a VOSTOK. Having said all of that, we need to talk about the crown, because this is one of the most infamous things with VOSTOKs. Now, you can see this is an absolutely big, beefy, chunky crown. And you kind of pull it out, and then you're like, what the hell's going on here? Look at how this thing wobbles. And this is a design characteristic of the VOSTOKs. It is designed to do that. A lot of novices are alarmed by this and they think, oh, the watch is defective or it's crappy. But no, this is the design of it. They've incorporated a clutch in the crown and stem assembly. And that clutch enables the crown to disengage from the watch stem. And that is so it can take knocks and beats, and if you're a soldier in the field and you don't really know what you're doing, you can torment this thing and you're not going to break the stem. So somehow they've got this clutch in there that decouples. So when you have to wind and set the time, you need to manually pull out the crown and kind of hold it on an angle, which is very oh, there it goes. Now you see it going. You got to hold it on just the right angle. Now, here you can see the watch stopped. It does not hack, but you can get the movement to stop if you just kind of jiggle it or twist the crown in a certain way. There, it slowed down. Time setting this thing is an absolute bear. I mean, it is not fun until you get used to it. Once you get used to it and you kind of have to pull on that crown and twist it, then it operates fine. Likewise, when you go to set the date on this, it can also be an exercise in frustration because it does not have a quick set date. There's no quick set date position. But there is a hack for it, and you can wind the watch back to 8 o'clock. Now you can see we'll do the quick set date. There goes 8. We'll roll back to about 8 o'clock. We can roll ahead, change to 9. And you'll see sometimes the movement stops when you're doing this. Again, no, change to 10. Yeah, so, setting this watch, if you want to set it to try to hack it, Sometimes you can just jiggle it. It doesn't want to do it. If I can just hold it. No, it's not going to cooperate. Maybe. Can I get it? Yeah, I got it. See, now I was able to hack it. You have to put pressure on the crown in a certain way, and then it's going. But, well, welcome to the world of VOSTOK, where it's never a dull moment. So, yeah, that's the story with the crown. Once it's disengaged, it just threads in very easily, even with my sloppy gloves. So. But that crown is one of the nuances, and that crown wobble is very normal with a VOSTOK, so it shouldn't cause you any alarm. That's what the watch is supposed to do. Like I said, this is a very interesting watch. It has lots of character. It's a love-hate relationship I have with this thing. I mean, some aspects of it are a pain in the ass, but you know, it just keeps on going. You can't destroy this thing. You know, no matter how you knock it or what you do to it, it just keeps on ticking. And once you get that time set, it's fine. You know, I wouldn't put too much into the date, but you know, I like wearing this watch. It makes me smile for whatever reason, despite all its idiosyncrasies and quirks, relatively crappy build quality. I like wearing it. It's a fun watch, and it's a conversation piece. I mean, people see this on your wrist and they're like, what the heck is that? So yeah, that's VOSTOK Amphibian. They have a ton of different dials, and I mean, they must have hundreds of different dials, and a lot of them are really garish. I mean, they've got tanks and submarines, and I mean, you name it. Of course, the scuba dude is probably one of their most famous ones with the scuba diver. But yeah, if you want a really garish looking dial, VOSTOK has you covered. But they've also got some pretty simple classic ones like this. So I'll give you a wrist shot now. I'll put it on my wrist and show you how it wears. One thing I should point out, I was able to put on some very large, these are Seiko Fat Boy spring bars. Those are 2.5 millimeter spring bars, so they're big beasts. And because of that shape of this case, you can see it's just straight across and it's cut straight. So you can actually get away with putting these massive spring bars in there. No problems at all. But look at these case shapes. Look how much they're alike. Very, very similar case shapes. See the profiles here side by side. Very similar. So yeah, the on the wrist, it's a comfortable watch. Get this out of the way, the camera doesn't focus on it. I love the Erica straps. I've got to do a strap review on them, but you know, it looks good. I mean, I can wear this all day long, and this is a work watch. So, yeah, there you have it. That's the VOSTOK Amphibian, a watch I love to hate. Full of quirks, lots of charm and character, dubious build quality. That probably sums it all up. But they're fun watches, and you know, if we're picking one up for under $100, how can you go wrong? They certainly can take a beating, and they just keep going. See, the movement stopped when I hammered it there. That's why I love this watch. It's just crazy. But yeah, that's the VOSTOK Amphibian. Thank you for joining me. I hope this wasn't too long. If you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe to my channel. I try to cover some fun watches every week. So, till next time, stay safe out there, and thank you again for watching.